McLean finds both a new life and a new love in Houston, Texas.
He was cute, he was young, he was just what she was looking for.
And her desire to keep him will drive her to the extreme.
Verna's gonna get whatever she wants, even if someone has to die.
Verna did all of this for one reason, and that was to keep a man in her life.
And later in Florida, Shakita Jones falls hard for a sweet-talking Romeo.
Jesse was this guy who seemed to be what any young woman would desire.
Whose out-of-control drug habit forces her into a life of crime.
Miss Jones brought a gunman, violence, and greed to that gas station. She knew that somebody was going to be robbed.
Shakita Jones did what her boyfriend wanted.
Need a bet.
As a young child growing up in a single-parent home in Oakland, California, Verna McLean always felt that she could lean on her mother.
Her mom was the one that was the role model in her life. Her mom was the main focus of her life. They were very close.
But when Verna's mother and sister leave her behind to move to Houston, Texas, the now 23-year-old is fine with it. She's fallen for a man named Theo McLean, who whisks her away to San Diego, where for the next 4 years, she splits her time between raising children and being a nurse.
This woman was a nurse, so her job was to take care of people professionally, but she also took care of them personally, too. So certainly, this was someone who was giving, who was caring, who was a healer, really the salt of the earth.
And now, several years later, the 27-year-old's patience is wearing thin.
She was working over 60 hours a week.
She worked in nursing homes. She worked in child care facilities. The people that she worked with, everybody had great things to say about her.
But as much as Verna lives for taking care of people, her long hours are not born from a love of her job, but more out of necessity.
Her husband did not have a job. She was the breadwinner for the family. She had 3 children. She was the only one responsible for the kids. Without a doubt, she was tired of doing all of that.
One summer day, Verna reaches her breaking point and decides it's time for a change.
I'm out of here. I can't live like this, and neither is my child.
She tells her husband she's taking the kids to visit her mother and sister in Houston, Texas, and never looks back.
Verna may have decided to move looking for a better life, moving to a new city where perhaps she could meet new people and find the love of her life.
By all accounts, Verna was a very responsible person and a very nurturing person. When Verna moved to Texas, this was an opportunity to completely reinvent herself.
After setting herself and her kids up in her mother's home, Verna lands a job with a home health care service.
She ended up eventually working for a company that treated or cared for high-risk children.
Once Verna is settled in Houston, the scenery isn't the only thing that changes. A new city means it's also time for a new Verna. Long gone is the plain Jane nurse who lived for others.
You saw her become someone that she wasn't in San Diego. Makeup always done, hair always done. She started wearing wigs constantly. She became somebody she thought she wanted to be.
This was an opportunity to reinvent herself, to be what she always had wanted to be, this exciting woman, known for her looks, known for her beauty. And so she did everything in her power to create that image.
For the first time in her adult life, Verna isn't tied down to one man. So she plays the field with men she meets online, using them to fulfill her most basic desires.
Perhaps one man provided what she needed sexually. Perhaps another man provided what she needed romantically.
That allowed her to kind of become the Verna that she wanted to be.
Verna is soul-searching. Her father wasn't there. Her own home was broken in that her husband wasn't there for her emotionally. This is a woman who is searching for validation.
Despite her appetite for online dating, it's her work as a nurse that leads Verna to Andrew Manor, a handsome mama's boy with a heart of gold.
Andrew's niece had a trach in her throat. She had a problem where Verna had to take care of her.
Andrew was about 10 years younger than Verna. He was in his early 20s.
Verna's job puts her in Andrew's home all day, every day, and it's hard for her not to get enveloped into the close-knit family.
Andrew lived with his mom. lived with his brother, and that relationship kind of developed not only with Andrew, but with Andrew's mother.
Almost immediately, Verna and Andrew take their attraction to the next level.
Verna was attracted to Andrew because he was much younger, he was impressionable, he was a good guy that he could be easily controlled by Verna, who was much more mature and knew the ways of the world.
I think that what Verna saw in Andrew was someone who made her feel different than she felt when she was in San Diego, someone who made her feel more like a woman.
Verna also has the love and approval of Andrew's mother.
She's found stability. Things are going well with her family. Things are going well with Andrew and his mother. They're showering her with affection. She feels special. She feels great. And she's not going to let anything come in the way of where she is right now, in the way of this happiness. Nothing.
But having all of her needs met isn't enough for Verna. She's worried that she might lose Andrew to a more desirable woman, one who's closer to his own age. She needs to ensure Andrew will be in her life forever, so she decides to tell him she's carrying his child.
Andrew was very excited to be a father. He was happy about it.
Speaks about pure emotion and desperation and doing whatever you have to do in order to keep your relationship alive.
Verna may have known enough about Andrew to know that if she told him she was pregnant, that he would stick around.
What Andrew doesn't know is that Verna is unable to give birth.
After the birth of Verna's third child, she got her tubes tied. She couldn't be pregnant, but that didn't stop her from saying that she was pregnant.
With a 9-month deadline in place, Verna must come up with a plan to ensure her future with the man she loves, or lose him forever.
When I think about what Verna McLean did, it haunts me to this day.
Verna was about to step out of her body for this man. It was scary what she did for him.
So enamored with her young paramour that she tells him she's pregnant, even though she is unable to have children after a previous surgery.
The reason she couldn't get out of the lie with Andrew was because she got her tubes tied.
But Andrew starts talking marriage.
Andrews was expecting to have a new son or daughter and was very excited about it.
Here's a situation. He has a stable woman, stable relationship, and he has a child that's on the way. And so it was easy for him to feed into all of the lies he was being fed by Verna, even if they were ridiculous lies.
He's also excited to share the news with the other woman in his life.
Andrew's mom and Andrew, they were so excited that they were going to have a baby with her and be a dad and be a grandma.
As the months progress, Verna continues to lie about her pregnancy, and Andrew and his mother fall for it hook, line, and sinker.
Verna would have been able to pull this off because she's a nurse, so she knows what's involved in being pregnant, and she's also a mother.
Verna had a heavier body build, so it would have made it easier for her to lie about the pregnancy.
She doesn't tell her own family about Andrew, so that she doesn't have to worry about perpetuating the lie at home.
It's obvious that Verna portrayed herself differently to different people and certainly compartmentalized various aspects of her life. She just didn't want the worlds to collide.
Around 3 months in, Verna's able to keep the deception going as far as Andrew is concerned. But as another woman who's given birth, fooling Andrew's mother isn't as easy.
Verna's future mother-in-law was questioning Verna about why Andrew or Andrew's mother couldn't go to Verna's doctor's appointments related to the pregnancy.
As she nears her fictitious second trimester, Verna tells Andrew and his mother that she's learned her pregnancy's at risk, and she must travel an hour southeast to Galveston to see a specialist. The latest ruse keeps them at bay for now.
Andrew didn't have a car. He had no way to get down there. His mom worked at the post office and was working all the time.
With each passing day bringing her closer to the 9-month mark, Verna finds herself at the point of no return.
It was easier for her at that point to just continue to say that I'm pregnant, and eventually she would figure something out.
If Verna faked a miscarriage for Andrew, then she was afraid that she just might lose him forever.
In addition to losing Andrew, she's also at risk for losing her job as a home care nurse. Verna has painted herself into a corner, and she sees only one way out.
She knew that she had to produce a baby to show Andrew. The only thing that came into her mind was to kidnap a child.
She comes up with a plan and sets it in motion. First, Verna comes up with a story to tell her own family, to explain why she may soon be coming home with a child.
Her family believed at any moment that Verna could become an emergency foster parent for a foster child. And it made complete sense. Verna was a nurse. Verna took care of children. And so nobody really ever questioned it.
Then, with only a week to go before the 9-month mark, Verna calls Andrew from her home in Houston to tell him she's in Galveston and has unexpectedly given birth to their child, knowing he will be unable to get down there right away.
She started sending him pictures of different children on Facebook. He was getting photographs of kids that he thought was his own little baby.
The photos do the trick, and Andrew promises to be patient until she and their child are discharged in a few days.
The love and the adoration that Andrew and his mother gave to Verna because they believed she was pregnant only fed her ego and only kept the lie going.
But Verna knows she's only bought herself so much time. She needs a baby, and she doesn't care who she has to harm to get one.
She goes and gets a gun. She goes and gets the bullets.
Verna did all of this for one reason, and that was to keep a man in her life.
And later, in Lake City, South Carolina, Shakita Jones puts her man's needs before her own, with fatal effect. Verna McLean's hot young boyfriend thinks she's just given birth to their son in Galveston. But she doesn't have a baby to show for it, and now she must kidnap one.
But she had a goal in mind, and she was going to accomplish that goal, whatever it took.
And it takes getting a gun.
To get a gun in Texas, all you have to do is have a clean record. They do a background check on you, fill out an application, and purchase the gun.
With her own car prone to breakdowns, Verna borrows her sister's car and drives to a pediatric clinic less than 2 miles from her sister's apartment in Houston.
It's a standalone location. It's not going to have the same safety standards as a hospital. It's going to be much easier to kidnap a child in the parking lot of a pediatric clinic than it is to whisk a baby away from a hospital.
Verna waits for hours, hoping someone shows up at the clinic with a newborn who fits the bill.
As Verna was sitting there watching these moms go back and forth, she had plenty of time to rethink this, to do something else. But I think she was just feeling so desperate that she had to do it.
Verna's patience pays off when she sees a young Caucasian woman pull up in a pickup truck.
She was trying to pass off the baby as someone who could be Andrew's baby, and so a white baby.
Kayla Golden Schuchard is at the clinic for a postnatal checkup with her 3-day-old son, Keegan.
Kayla was a 28-year-old mother of 3. She was a stay-at-home mom. She and her husband, Kevin, had been married for about 3 years.
Unfortunately for Kayla, she's walked into a hornet's nest.
And it was at that point that Verna knew exactly what she wanted and exactly who she needed to get it from.
Verna pulls into the empty parking space next to Kayla's and waits for her to return from her appointment. A little over an hour later, Kayla exits the clinic with Keegan.
Kayla's making her way to the pickup truck. When Verna sees Kayla, she's probably thinking it's now or never.
Verna rolled down the window, put her arm out. Kayla never saw Verna McLean. As Kayla's putting her child in the car seat, she's shot in the back 7 times.
But despite being mortally wounded, Kayla's not giving up her baby without a fight.
What you have is Verna taking baby Keegan, getting in the vehicle, and then Kayla kind of struggling with her, still trying to get the baby as she falls to the side.
Verna speeds off and heads toward her sister's apartment.
For Verna to kill Kayla in broad daylight and snatch that baby, it speaks about being totally emotional to the point of pure desperation.
911 is flooded with calls from eyewitnesses to the crime as bystanders rush to Kayla's side.
Kayla was still alive when EMS responded and when law enforcement got there.
What she was telling the paramedics, other first responders, is what her baby was wearing. Her main concern was getting her baby back.
Kayla is loaded into an ambulance, but loses consciousness and slips away en route to the hospital.
She died protecting her kid. And that stuck with me then. It sticks with me now.
At the scene, concerned citizens provide the police with crucial details about the attack.
There were a lot of witnesses that were able to give us a description of the vehicle, and I believe of the license plate as well.
Law enforcement issues a be on the lookout for the car and plates described. Meanwhile, Verna stops at her sister's house to drop off the car and change out of her blood-spattered clothes. Then she calls Andrew's mother.
Verna called her and said, hey, I've got the baby. I'm in town. I need you to take me over to my mom's house. I'm at my sister's house. And so Andrew's mom wanted to see the baby and obliged.
Andrew's mother picks up Verna and her new grandson unaware of the brutal murder and kidnapping that occurred just a few miles away.
And of course, Andrew's mother is so focused on the baby that she's completely oblivious to any nervousness that's coming from Verna.
Verna doesn't know that the local police have found her sister's car.
It was by complete happenstance. They're driving around looking, patrolling the area. They drive into this complex and decide to go down this perfect aisle and happen to see the Lexus.
The hood on the vehicle is still warm. The blood is smeared all over on the side.
Surrounded by doting grandmas at her mom's house, Verna has a moment of clarity and realizes by fleeing her sisters so fast, she's neglected to cover her tracks.
She's left the car with blood all over it, all the bloody clothes, the gun, her bloody cell phone, in her sister's apartment. And so it's at that point she goes to the scene.
But it's too late. Verna arrives to find the apartment complex swarming with law enforcement.
Verna came to the scene there saying she had heard about it on TV. And it's not the first time that a suspect would come back to the scene of the crime. It's almost cliche.
Verna tells police she knows nothing of the abduction but happened to find a baby on the steps of the apartment complex earlier that day.
Where's the baby now?
She took the baby to her mom's house until she could call authorities. But police know it's a tall tale.
Verna's story's not making sense because we obviously know that the child wasn't found on the steps, that the child's mother had been murdered. Police at this point have identified that vehicle that Verna used that had blood all over it, that had shell casings laying in the floorboard of the car.
As detectives on scene continue to talk to Verna, law enforcement are dispatched to her mother's house.
They go to the house, the Texas Rangers make entry into the home, and they find Kayla's child there.
The moment detectives at the apartment complex get word of baby Keegan's safe recovery, Verna's arrested for the kidnapping of 3-day-old Keegan Shookhart and the first-degree murder of his mother, Kayla.
The tragic part of this situation is that Kayla died not knowing whether or not her child was still alive, whether or not her child had been found.
Later that night, Andrew finds out what happened while watching the news. He rushes down to the jail to be by Verna's side.
For Andrew and his mother, this was an enormous betrayal because here was a woman that they trusted more than anything, that they treated like a queen, and to find out that she was a liar, she was a killer.
But despite the earth-shattering revelation, as Verna awaits her day in court, Andrew stands by his woman.
He still loved her. In his mind, he felt that she had murdered someone for him, that this whole thing was because of him. She did this for him.
It's fascinating how Verna just had a change of heart. Here she did all of these things for Andrew in her mind in order to please him, but at the end of the day, she now feels less than zero for him.
Even with his unconditional support, Verna lets Andrew go forever.
He came to the jail and visited her and talked to her for about a month. And after that, she cut off all ties with him.
It's really amazing how Verna's mind just flipped from really admiring and loving Andrew to not even caring about him and even kicking herself for doing something so horrific for his love.
Facing the death penalty, Verna takes a deal and pleads guilty in exchange for a sentence of life without the possibility of parole.
Verna McLean decided to accept responsibility. She's never going to get out.
But accepting responsibility in court and admitting it to herself are two entirely different things.
I don't know if Verna really saw beyond getting the baby. If she really saw, how am I going to pass this baby on as mine?
Andrew and his mother so trusted Verna, and to find out that she actually took another woman's life and tried to snatch a child must have been a situation where they were completely disillusioned. And how could they ever trust anyone like that again after the trust that they put into Verna?
Verna McLean was willing to do anything to keep her man, even if it meant taking someone else's life and kidnapping their baby. On the East Coast, Shakita Jones' desire for love will lead to deadly consequences. In Lake City, South Carolina, a young Shakita grows up on the wrong side of the tracks.
In that particular county where she was raised, you had neighborhoods that were really plagued with poverty and crime and things of that sort.
The reality of her surroundings does not bring the young teen down.
I think Shakita had that dream of wanting to be that individual that was a success. Her parents were not married. She was raised in a household with her grandmother and her mother.
The opposite sex starts taking notice when she's just a teen.
Shakita learned how to use what assets she knew to manage early on. She was looking for attention. It seemed like she used sex in order to get it.
Sex for Shakita served two purposes. For one, she grew up in an all-female home, and it provided her validation. And secondly, and more importantly, it was a real escape for her.
An escape Shakita indulges in all too often. And as she exits her teen years and enters adulthood, her dreams of getting out are dashed.
And so she ended up having 3 children by the age of 25 by 3 different males.
Shakita and her 3 children share a cramped home with her mother and grandmother.
Shakita didn't have a lot of funds, and therefore she was living under the support of the welfare system and also social services. Money was a major concern.
As a single parent with any number of children, having to work and care for them at the same time, that would be tough.
Unfortunately, when we look at this cycle of poverty, it happens all too much. In some neighborhoods, we see that with poverty, there is a lack of opportunity, a lack of education. So youngsters become involved in sex and other aimless sorts of activities, which then further drives them back into that cycle of poverty.
However, Shakita's circumstances are about to change with the arrival of a smooth-talking Romeo who promises to make all her dreams come true.
I think it's fair to say that she was desperate.
She loved him to the point where she was willing to do anything he wanted.
In the small town of Lake City, South Carolina, 28-year-old Shakita Jones seems destined to live a life of limited means.
She so desperately wanted to get out of poverty. She didn't want to live in a household with her mother, her grandmother, and her 3 children.
Money isn't the only thing missing from Shakita's life.
She wanted and was in search of love and that desire to be respected.
One of the few bright spots is Sunday worship with her grandmother.
When you have very little in this life, when there are things that are not physically tangible for you, this is where faith steps in. She didn't have satisfaction in her relationships. She didn't have the things that perhaps we all strive for in order to be comfortable. But one thing she had was her faith. And she showed that by attending church with her grandmother.
And it's at church one day where Shakita meets the handsome Jesse Cooper.
He comes into the church.
My grandson, Jesse.
In her eyes, it was like love at first sight. He stood out, gold teeth, a beautiful smile.
She's drawn into Jesse because he is the picture of success. He appears to be the guy that she always dreamt and fantasized about, the one who's going to lift her out of her poverty, out of her humdrum life, and carry her into the sunset with pure happiness.
In town to visit his grandparents, Jesse tells Shakita he's a hip-hop producer back in his hometown of Jacksonville, Florida.
He claimed to be really high in the industry and working with numerous artists, and he had everything to prove that this was the case. Really long gold chains, nice sneakers, a really nice SUV with shiny rims.
But what Shakita doesn't know is that this choir boy carries a very dark tune. He's a cocaine user.
Jesse Cooper had a long criminal history, and there was no evidence that he ever held a stable job.
Jesse was dealing with Grand Theft Auto, and if you know about the video game, it's definitely not something that you want to play with.
For the next month, Jesse turns on the charm, romancing Shakita while keeping his drug habit and illicit money-making activities in check.
Jesse treated Shakita very well. Everything that she desired, he got for her. He was very nice to her 3 children. He was respectful to her. It was everything that she wanted. She was living on cloud 9.
And when after a month, Jesse has to go back home to Jacksonville, Shakita's heartbroken. The two stay in touch over the phone, and it doesn't take long for Shakita to take stock of her life, which now seems even less satisfying than before.
She thinks about it a little bit, stays in this same crowded home, and then decides after about 4 weeks, I'm out of here.
Driven by her desire, Shakita loads the kids up and heads 300 miles south to Jacksonville.
Everything seemed to be perfect in her eyes. She's with the individual that she met in church, that she loved. It was great.
Once she arrives, Jesse welcomes Shakita with open arms.
Jesse feels great. There's no doubt in Jesse's mind that she was going to come. It just was a matter of time. And so a month later, she's there.
That is, until Jesse's drug use comes to light.
What is this?
And when the mother of 3 learns he's not really a hip-hop producer,
I steal cars.
she makes a surprising decision.
Shakita was not going to go back to the community she came from. And at that point, she decided, I'm going to support my man.
In her mind, Shakita had a lot more to lose by leaving Jesse even after she found out about his cocaine habit. This is the guy who has been there with her, and so she is determined to make that relationship happen, even if it means exposing her children to a negative element.
Shakita's found herself in a horrible situation. She has 3 children, and she's now living with a man that she realizes she knows nothing about.
Jesse Cooper probably saw that she was somewhat vulnerable, being a single parent, having 3 kids, would need somebody to support her.
Not wanting to return to a life of loneliness, Shakita stays with Jesse. But after only a few weeks, when Shakita can't find a job and her welfare checks are spreading thin, the family's need for money is at a constant. Jesse comes up with a plan. With Shakita's 14-year-old daughter left at home in charge of her younger siblings, Jesse enlists Shakita to drive him around to find cars to steal and to serve as lookout while he boosts them.
By Jesse introducing Shakita into his illicit life of crime by stealing cars, now he has a real partner.
Shakita Jones was in love with Jesse Cooper. She wanted to be a part of what he was doing.
The lovers are suspected of a string of thefts in a short amount of time, creating a mini crime wave in the Jacksonville area that does not go unnoticed by authorities.
They're committing these crimes all in the same community. It's but so big. So you have a precinct that identifies this is a problem in this particular area, and so they send out the authorities to start looking.
Police are looking for known car thieves. Due to a past conviction for grand theft auto, Jesse becomes a prime suspect and is brought in for questioning.
Jesse is aware that the officers don't have anything on him. He's aware that he's going in for questioning, and therefore he gives them what they want, and they allowed him to go home.
Jesse's been down this road before, so he knows what to do. For him, it's just about deny, 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 deny. Because if they had something on him, they would have gotten him already.
When Jesse finally goes home after the questioning, Shakita's excited, of course, because she just wants her man at the end of the day. But it changes a lot for them in terms of the crimes that they're committing.
Shakita can't imagine life without Jesse, so she's willing to do whatever it takes to keep him out of the radar of law enforcement.
With Jesse now on the police's radar, Shakita thinks it's too risky for them to keep stealing cars.
If you steal a car, you have to sell the car to someone who will give you cash and someone who's also willing to take on a stolen car, knowing that or change the license plate so you don't get arrested.
Shakita's using her brain, and she decides maybe we need to change things up a bit.
Shakita suggests they should go for a straight cash grab by holding up a business.
When Shakita comes up with this plan, this is clear evidence to Jesse that she's fit for this lifestyle, that she's built for this.
Jesse is all for it. And his approval signals the start of a chain of events that will end with one dead and the other behind bars.
She wanted to prove herself. She wanted Jesse to know that she would be by his side for a lifetime.
This was the beginning to the final chapter of Shakita.
In Jacksonville, Florida, 28-year-old mother of three, Shakita Jones, has decided that the best way to support herself, her kids, and her boyfriend, Jesse Cooper, is to commit armed robbery.
It's quick and easy in a way that stealing something else isn't.
Shakita realizes that if she doesn't get involved in this life of crime with Jesse, that she could lose him. She can lose this dream relationship. So in her mind, she has no choice.
Shakita proposes the two rob a gas station with a food mart.
There's a lot more revenue that's coming there as opposed to a gas station where you're just coming in and pumping gas and leaving. And so she really had decided at that point that it was all about getting more and more money.
Jesse convinces Shakita the next step is for her to canvass the area, to find a gas station that looks busy enough to be worth the risk.
Shakita ends up being the eyes and the ears of the streets for Jesse.
He valued her as a criminal conspirator. You need to trust the people you're committing crimes with. I don't know if he loved her or if he was just using her to commit crimes, but clearly he knew her well enough to know he could trust her.
After driving around some of Jacksonville's busiest areas, Shakita thinks she's found their target in a local gas station.
This particular chain of gas stations is very big in Jacksonville, so I think they had a good idea that the money drop would be a large dollar figure.
For the next several days, she stakes it out from a safe distance.
Shakita Jones was casing the Gate gas station, parking either in or near the store and waiting for the manager to exit the store and then following him through his rounds until he got to the bank.
From this particular location, Shakita has a clear view of everything that's happening inside the gas station.
But what Shakita doesn't know is while she's been watching the gas station, someone else has been watching her.
There had been a rash of recent robberies at this particular gas station chain, and that's why the sheriff's office was out there in the first place, surveilling the areas.
Shakita was so caught up in the robbery that she was planning that she didn't realize that she stuck out like a sore thumb. She was establishing a pattern in her trying to assess the situation, monitor the situation there.
After 2 more days of monitoring activity in and around the gas station, Shakita decides it's time.
Because of the surveillances that Shakita did, she's fully aware that the store manager leaves at 10 a.m. in order to go make this big deposit.
While Shakita sits in her vehicle across the street, Jesse parks in the gas station lot, out of sight from the mini-mart entrance.
And at the particular time, it's about 9 a.m., which means that in 1 hour, the store manager will be leaving with all of that cash.
Jesse Cooper would be in a position hidden from the front of the store, and she would communicate by phone as to when the manager was coming out.
The plan was to walk up with a gun and rob the guy in the parking lot.
When Shakita finally sees the store manager coming out, she cues Jesse.
Jesse hangs up the phone and makes his move as Shakita watches on.
He pulled a gun on him, demanded the money, and the employee handed it over to him.
Give me the bread, bro.
Everything seems to go off without a hitch.
After the robbery, he returned to his car, he got in.
But suddenly, 2 unmarked police cars pull into the gas station and block Jesse.
Hands up!
The police cut him off. They got out of their car, they raised firearms to him, told him to put his hands up, and rather than put his hands up, he brought up a firearm.
28-year-old single mother Shakita Jones and her boyfriend Jesse Cooper came up with what they thought was a foolproof scheme to rob a gas station in Jacksonville, Florida, only to have their plan go spectacularly wrong.
As he was preparing to leave the parking lot, the police cut him off. They got out of their car, they raised firearms to him, told him to put his hands up, and rather than put his hands up, he brought up a firearm. And then the police opened fire.
Jesse is shot multiple times, and he dies immediately.
Watching her boyfriend being gunned down by the police and knowing it was her plan, Shakita is in shock. She's in disbelief, but eventually goes into the mode of guilt.
But just as she starts her car, the authorities who've been keeping an eye on her move in. Shakita is arrested without incident.
When it comes time to protect her own skin, that's exactly what she does. It becomes all about her and not about Jesse.
At the police station, Shakita pleads ignorance, claiming Jesse never told her he planned on robbing the gas station.
Shakita can't see life without Jesse. This is something that she just can't do. So she'll do whatever it takes to make sure that she stays out of the radar of law enforcement.
Shakita is indicted, and not only for the robbery. In a shocking turn of events, she is also charged with the murder of Jesse Cooper.
Under Florida law, if anyone dies in the commission of a crime, the people who were involved in the crime are responsible for that person's death. Therefore, prosecutors argued she was responsible for the murder of Jesse Cooper.
This has to be devastating for Shakita. The man that she loves is gunned down, and it's because of a plot that she came up with, a faulty one at that. But now, law enforcement, the legal system, turns around and they charge her with the murder. So not only does she have to deal with the guilt of this personally, but also take the full brunt legally.
8 months after the robbery gone wrong, Shakita pleads not guilty to all counts. She takes the stand during her trial. And when questioned about a 53-minute phone conversation with Jesse in the minutes leading up to the robbery, she has an answer at the ready.
She came up with an account that the reason that she and her boyfriend were on the phone was simply to have phone sex.
You want me to do what?
Shakita identified that she didn't even have a clue that he was across from her or at a gas station committing or doing anything.
But with law enforcement tracking Shakita's moves outside the gas station days before the robbery, the jury doesn't buy it. Shakita Jones is found guilty of armed robbery and second-degree felony murder. She is sentenced to 35 years.
What the court saw from her were excuses, no reasons, and a lack of sympathy for what she had done. She was responsible for someone's death. In this case, it was somebody that she knew and probably loved.
Shakita loved Jesse. Jesse loved Shakita. But it was built on lies, not on the side of Shakita, but on the side of Jesse. And although the love was strong, it was a lie, and therefore it was bound to fail from the start.
It was obviously a destructive love. We can sit here and say, what were you thinking? But she loved him, and she wanted to be with him, and she wanted to be part of his life. Unfortunately, that ended up destroying her.
He was rebuilding his future in the wake of tragedy.
Katrina brought all this out here. He had his own life that he was restarting over in Texas.
He also found his voice along the way.
He started rapping about his trials and, things he's been through.
He was trying to pursue that as maybe a career.
A new love seemed to be a signal that the tides had finally turned.
They got to know each other really well.
He was happy. I always wanted to bring her around.
Until rough waters threatened to upend his life again.
This was a very unique and different storm. It was powerful, and it kept on going inland.
It was crazy. He just went silent.
Was this another missing person lost in Hurricane Harvey?
The evidence would reveal something far more ominous.
When I seen the news, I got sick to my stomach, physically ill.
What better way to make someone disappear than in the midst of a hurricane?
Oh. August 18th, 2017. It's Friday evening in Baytown, Texas, a blue-collar town on the Houston Shipping Channel.
It's a large port area where you're going to have a lot of cargo and shipping, the various refineries or the various plastic companies.
That's pretty much in the lifeblood of the town for many years.
As people are getting off of work from Baytown's refineries and chemical plants, they keep a watchful eye on the news.
Hurricane Harvey was making its way across the Caribbean at that point and threatening to turn towards Texas.
And the storm is pretty much the number one thing on people's minds because they've seen what storms can do here.
This was 9 years just after Hurricane Ike that cost billions in damage and killed dozens. So it was pretty understandable why people were nervous.
However, even with the threat of a hurricane, one Baytown woman has a more urgent matter. A little after 6 p.m., 30-year-old Sierra Sutton arrives at the Baytown police station to report that her boyfriend, 32-year-old Stephen Coleman, has been missing since Wednesday.
It was a little past 7 p.m. when he left, and he was only supposed to be gone for a little while.
She said he just got up and walked out the door, and she said that was the last time she saw her.
He was supposed to meet his daughter that night.
Have you talked to her, the daughter?
Called her mother, but they haven't seen her.
Sierra said she also called several of Stephen's friends who hadn't heard from him either.
Sierra claims that it's unlike Stephen to not be in touch with his friends and family.
I knew something wasn't right with Stephen when I didn't hear from him because we would talk all the time.
If he home, he gonna call me. Something just didn't add up.
Get it? I understand.
Louisiana native Stephen Coleman had come to Texas in 2005, blown there by a different storm.
When Hurricane Katrina hit the New Orleans area, it was devastating. And Stephen, he was one of over 200,000 people who fled Louisiana and then settled in Houston, Texas.
Most of the people fleeing Katrina landed in the Houston area with little money and spent years struggling to rebuild their lives.
Stephen was no exception.
He needed to make some money. He needed a couple of dollars in his pocket because he was trying to get somewhere to stay.
He was looking for a job.
The problem was he had a few strikes against him.
Stephen had grown up in one of the toughest areas in New Orleans and had gotten into some trouble.
He went to jail for just being in the streets.
He had a few minor offenses on his record, like misdemeanor drug possession and carrying a handgun without a license.
But Stephen refused to let his past define him.
He had a great heart, great sense of humor. He was just a good person.
Here's a guy who maybe had a little bit of a past. He's trying to turn it around, trying to look for a better future like we all do.
After months of struggling, Stephen managed to find a place for himself in Baytown, a bustling suburb of Houston.
Baytown is right on the coast of Galveston Bay. It's about half an hour from downtown Houston, and it's got big business in oil refining and steel manufacturing.
He worked at a chemical plant, and he was a hard worker.
the more he got into it, the better he got. Like he was seeing his capabilities. So he went from the rookie to the supervisor.
However, for all Steven's dedication and success at his job, music was his true passion.
And this one right here, epic.
He had made this rap CD and was trying to pursue that as maybe a career.
Steven loved his music. He was really good at his craft.
His music was like a way to express a lot of stuff that we was going through.
Got 100 hustles. Let me show you how I can hit the block broke and get $1 million right now, right? Got 100 hustles.
He was so realistic. He was raw. He was gifted. Like people would tell him, man, hey man, this song, man, I listen to this song, bro. And you know, it had me feeling like this. It made me believe and gave me hope.
Raw, real, and full of hope, Steven was a rising star in both the Houston rap scene and back home in New Orleans.
He had a lot of fans from Facebook and stuff like that.
One of those fans was Sierra Sutton.
Been playing on Facebook one day. He got a friend request. So the friend request was Sierra.
At the time, Sierra lived in New Orleans.
Steven and Sierra knew each other. They knew each other from Louisiana. But the relationship really grew when they connected on social media.
So he ended up going down there. They do their thing. She left it, and she came here.
Sierra didn't come to Baytown alone, however. She also brought her 10-year-old daughter.
Yeah. She had a daughter. And he had a daughter.
Steven's daughter was about the same age as Sierra's, but he had a complicated relationship with the little girl's mother. So he went out of his way to be there for Sierra's daughter.
Once in Baytown, Sierra and Steven started building their life together.
She went the extra mile for him, help him, support him, you know, kind of take some of the pressure off him.
And with Sierra by his side, Steven could focus on taking his musical career to the next level.
He wanted to get his music out more. He wanted to do a bunch of shows. He wanted to try to sign to a label.
But this rising star has now faded from view. In mid-August of 2017, Sierra Sutton claims Steven has been missing for the last 2 days.
He was only supposed to be gone for a little while.
And with an impending disaster approaching off the coast of Baytown, his girlfriend believes something worse may have already happened to Steven.
I'm afraid it's because of some of the things that he used to be into.
What do you mean by that? What kind of things?
Some of the people he used to run with, they were trouble.
In the summer of 2017, with his #1 fan Sierra Sutton at his side, and his rap career on the rise, it looked as if there were no limits for Steven Coleman.
He was always in a good space. Every day he woke up with something on his mind. Every day he's setting goals, different plans.
He was really good at what he did. But he also worked as well. So he was rapping and working. If it wasn't at work, he was at the studio.
But now, Sierra has just gone to the police and reported that she hasn't seen or heard from Steven in 48 hours.
She goes to the cops and says she's missing. They take her statements and get all the information from her.
According to Sierra, with Hurricane Harvey fast approaching, Steven had left their apartment on Wednesday night to check on his daughter from a previous relationship.
She lives with her mama.
Do you know the mother's name?
Kimberly Wiley.
Him and his baby mom, they started talking to each other and they had got back cool and, you know, he started going over.
Kimberly and Steven's daughter had moved to the Houston area as well after Katrina. So this was perfect for Steven to be able to see his daughter on a regular basis.
He was trying to be there and help with the daughter.
But that Wednesday night, Steven never showed up to see his daughter.
How you know that?
Because I asked her.
Kimberly, correct?
Yeah, I called her when I couldn't get a hold of Steven.
Exes are often considered persons of interest. so detectives were suspicious of Kimberly.
However, Sierra offers up a different possibility.
In the missing person report that Sierra filed, she volunteers some theories that Stephen went back to his old ways and he was back amongst a rough crowd.
Some of the people he used to run around with, they were trouble.
Is he doing anything illegal now?
Not that I know of.
With Sierra offering little in the way of names, detectives can hardly start to investigate anyone specific. But Sierra does reveal one clue that indicates something nefarious may have happened to Stephen.
What makes you think that?
Both his cars are still in the parking lot.
He was a car person. He had 2 cars. He had just gotten a new Jaguar. He loved that car.
That right there raised red flags. Why would he just walk off somewhere without even taking his vehicle?
He just loved his car. He did not want to leave his car behind. This dude don't even want to ride with me in my car to go to the corner store.
I'm just really worried about him.
I get it. Understand.
We'll do everything we can, ma'am.
Once they finish filling out the missing persons report, detectives issue a be on the lookout for Stephen.
We cannot just put everything on hold just because there's a hurricane coming.
They also do a background check on Stephen, but find nothing to indicate he was associating with criminals, nor that he was a hardened criminal.
There were a few minor charges in his past, but there was nothing recent.
He was not somebody who looked for trouble. He did not seem like a bad guy at all.
With his background and apparent dead end, detectives subpoena his cell phone and financial records.
They started to check his bank accounts and they started to kind of backtrack.
Any activity on Stephen's debit and credit cards would have left a trail that detectives could trace.
While waiting to hear back from Stephen's bank and cell phone provider, detectives pay a visit to the apartment complex he and Sierra call home.
The initial canvas showed his cars are there.
Detectives didn't find any trace of blood or anything around the cars to indicate foul play.
Canvassing the apartment complex also fails to produce any leads.
They had a recent picture of Stephen with a missing persons flyer. Nobody really ever heard of any kind of disturbances or fights that they shared with the detectives and the police officers. So it didn't look like anything really significant would have gone on in the apartment complex.
The detective's next move is questioning Kimberly Wiley, Stephen's ex and mother to his 8-year-old daughter.
Sierra told detectives that she had talked to Kimberly, and neither she nor her daughter had heard from Stephen.
When detectives meet with Kimberly at the Baytown Police Department, her story seems to line up with Sierra's.
Kimberly, when was the last time you spoke to Stephen?
Monday afternoon.
But you were supposed to see him on Wednesday. Is that right?
That was the plan. He was supposed to come by to see our daughter.
Kimberly told them the same thing Sierra did, that Stephen was supposed to come see his daughter on Wednesday night.
However, Kimberly claims that once Wednesday rolled around, she never heard from Stephen, so she made other plans.
What were you doing?
I was with a friend.
To detectives, Kimberly's answers seem evasive. Could she be denying seeing Stephen on Wednesday because something more sinister had happened?
Thank you for coming in.
Her story was a little unconvincing, but detectives weren't even sure if anything had happened to Stephen at this point.
They really needed his phone records to give them some sort of lead.
Later that afternoon, detectives receive Stephen's phone records, and it appears Kimberly is telling the truth. Stephen hadn't even called her on Wednesday. However, there is one final outgoing call on Stephen's records that could give them a new suspect.
Who was the last person that we know Stephen spoke to? A woman named Rose.
Rose Lawrence?
Yes.
When I last talked to Steven, we were talking about getting together, going out, and having fun like we always do. So when I found out Steven was missing, it was crazy. I tried to contact him. I tried to FaceTime him. I tried to messenger him. No answer. He just like went silent. I started feeling like, what's going on? Where's Steven?
While clouds from Hurricane Harvey roll in over the Texas coast, detectives investigating the disappearance of Stephen Coleman have just gotten their first lead in the case.
According to Steven's phone records, the last person that he spoke to before he disappeared was a woman named Rose Lawrence.
With the window of opportunity to find Stephen Coleman narrowing, interviewing the last person who had contact with him could be the break detectives need.
Rose Lawrence?
Yes?
We understand you're friends with Stephen Coleman.
Yeah. Why?
I need to ask you a few questions about him.
She readily admits she knows Stephen very well. They were very close.
When you say close, what exactly do you mean?
That kind of statement usually makes detectives wonder, is it just a friendly relationship or could they be looking at a love triangle?
We're just friends. I've known Steven for years. He'd come by from time to time and we'd hang out, talk, you know?
Rose explains that on the Wednesday Stephen disappeared, he was supposed to stop by on his way to see his daughter, but he never arrived.
He didn't show?
No.
Rose said she wasn't worried about it because between his job, his music, his girlfriend, and his daughter, Stephen was very busy. She just thought something had come up.
It did seem strange. When I called him the next day, he never answered or returned my call.
She never heard from him. That was the last conversation she ever had with him.
When you hear from Stephen, let him know we're trying to find him.
I will. I just hope he's okay.
Detectives aren't sure if Rose is telling them the whole story. So now the question becomes, did Sierra Sutton know about Rose and Stephen's friendship?
Stephen's girlfriend, Sierra, hadn't said anything to detectives about him going over to Rose's on the night he disappeared.
Stephen might have been keeping Rose a secret because there was something more going on between them.
Detectives sensed the potential for a love triangle turned vengeful. But which woman had been scorned? Sierra Sutton or Rose Lawrence? And is Stephen Coleman still alive? On Sunday, 2 days after Sierra reported Stephen missing, detectives reach out to his family in hopes of learning more.
They make a phone call back to Louisiana to Stephen's mom.
She was very upset to hear about Stephen being reported missing.
They told her Sierra had filed the report on Friday.
Unfortunately, Stephen's mother has little insight on her son's relationship with Sierra.
She said she didn't know all that much about Stephen's life in Baytown.
However, she does reveal that she too has had trouble reaching him over the past several days.
Stephen's mom told detectives that she last heard from Stephen 5 days ago.
Now it's not only his girlfriend who hasn't had contact with him, it's his mother too.
When detectives get in touch with several of Stephen's Houston area friends, they share the same fears.
Something just didn't add up. He might go missing maybe a day or two. That was known. Or you talk to him the day, you probably don't talk to him maybe not, if not the next day, the following.
Asked if Stephen has any enemies, his friends claim the answer is unequivocally no.
People would look up to him. He was a very giving person and didn't mind helping others.
He's definitely a guy that you will want in your life. He'll uplift you and he'll never let you down.
However, Stephen's friends also admit that he wasn't perfect, and they reveal some details about him that lend credence to detectives' earlier suspicions.
He did have a penchant for having a lot of women.
Stephen's friends told police that he was never really satisfied with having just one girlfriend.
According to his friends, Stephen's refusal to stay monogamous eventually led to issues with Sierra.
Apparently, Sierra has suspected him of sleeping around.
She definitely got jealous.
According to Stephen's friends, not only was Stephen seeing other women, he talked about ending his relationship with Sierra.
He just didn't feel that he wanted to be with her anymore. And so he was going to break up with her.
However, while Stephen had no intention of settling down, he wasn't about to put Sierra on the street.
It was a difficult situation for him to try to get Sierra out because, number one, she had a daughter.
And she didn't have nowhere to go. She had nobody there.
Does the impending breakup suggest that Sierra had something to do with Stephen's disappearance?
It's certainly a good motive to make somebody disappear.
Or was there some other explanation for why no one's heard from Stephen Coleman?
In an investigation, if you leave one stone unturned, well, that's going to be the stone that you should have looked at.
And on August 22nd, detectives will get their answer.
4 days after Stephen disappeared, some workers at the county landfill were burying the day's haul when something unusual happened.
It's a landfill. Heaps and mounds of garbage, the smell, the stench in the air.
But it's not just the stench of garbage that's in the air.
Oh! What is it that they see? The torso of a human body.
On August 22nd, 4 days after Stephen Coleman's girlfriend, Sierra Sutton, reported him missing, workers at a landfill just outside of Baytown, Texas, have just made a gruesome discovery.
As they were pushing dirt over the garbage, they saw what appeared to be a dismembered body.
The only thing they found was the torso. They find nothing else.
Oh, y'all do. Hey, call 911.
When detectives investigating Stephen Coleman's disappearance receive information that a black male has been found, they immediately make their way to the scene. But there is nothing to help identify the body on site.
It's just a portion of a body. There's no head. There's no way to identify really who it is.
It was also not really clear to detectives how the man died.
Detectives are looking at this decomposing torso. It's been dismembered. It's been mutilated.
Have the remains of Stephen Coleman been found?
But there is a science to landfills.
As the coroner's crew removes the torso for autopsy and identity testing, detectives wait for confirmation before informing Stephen's family in New Orleans.
For a family that is already concerned about a loved one being missing, to have to go inform a family that their loved one is dead, that is emotional enough. But then to have to, on top of that, say, here's the condition we found your loved one in, to have to go tell the family that is just horrific.
But when the gruesome discovery makes the local news, family and friends of Stephen Coleman fear the worst.
When I seen the news, I got sick to my stomach. Physically ill. I could not believe what I just saw on TV. It was just crazy. And everyone that knows him pretty much felt the same thing.
I was hoping that what they found wasn't him. You know, I was hoping that he was just hiding somewhere, ducked off somebody, doing his thing.
With the strong belief they've located the body of Stephen Coleman, detectives believe their next step is to follow up with the girlfriend who reported him missing, Sierra Sutton.
They contact Sierra, say they have a huge development in the case of Stephen, and they need to discuss some very important things with her. And they ask her to come down and talk. And she says, yep, I'll come down.
But now Sierra is the one who's disappeared, and the timing seems a little too perfect. On August 23rd, with Hurricane Harvey's impending landfall, the governor declares a state of emergency, sending South Texas into a frenzy.
Could Sierra be fleeing the storm? The detectives just weren't sure.
She's off the grid. The detectives, they can't get a hold of Sierra.
However, even as detectives are trying to find Sierra, they finally hear back from Stephen's bank and find a promising lead.
His credit cards were used at a local store here in Baytown.
There was a $48 charge at around 8 on Thursday morning, which would have been after he disappeared.
This card should be with him. And now it's being used during the same time that he is missing.
When detectives contact the store, management agrees to send them a list of everything that was purchased: a mattress pad, rope, and duct tape.
The receipt listed items that detectives say look like things to dispose of his body.
Later that afternoon, detectives also received the surveillance video of the transaction.
They were looking for it. Who's on the video? Who was there using Stephen's card?
It makes no sense for him just to walk off and all of a sudden just go buy a bunch of items like duct tape and rope. What use would he have for any of that?
As the detectives suspected, it wasn't Stephen.
They're clearly able to see a woman making a purchase.
For what it appears, it looks like Sierra.
Detectives investigating the death of aspiring rapper Stephen Coleman have just found store security video that appears to implicate his girlfriend, Sierra Sutton.
The video showed Sierra using Stephen's credit card and buying items that detectives say look like things to dispose of his body.
There was receipts on this as well. And this is after, of course, he disappeared.
Detectives have been trying to get in touch with Sierra, but with Hurricane Harvey approaching rapidly, they have been unable to reach her.
It's been all over the news that police believe they found Stephen's dismembered remains in a local landfill.
There was also this possibility that Sierra had left town, at least temporarily, until things calmed down. There were a lot of people who sought shelter elsewhere.
With Sierra in the wind, detectives get a warrant to search the apartment she shared with Stephen.
The store video and the remains from the landfill were enough to give them probable cause.
They have a torso. There's got to be some kind of evidence somewhere.
Sierra Sutton, Baytown Police. Baytown Police.
They got that search warrant. And they execute the search warrant. Although they couldn't find Sierra.
You're not going to find her.
What do you mean?
She moved.
After they find this torso in the landfill, they go back to her place, and of course they find out she's not there. She's left.
She moved?
Yeah, like 3 or 4 days ago.
Detectives contact the complex manager, who lets them in the apartment.
Thank you.
Inside the apartment was essentially empty.
Definitely looks like she moved out.
She didn't have no money, so she went to selling the furniture to help her get some money to get back to New Orleans. She got some guys to help her.
You smell that?
There's a nice, fresh smell. To the naked eye, it seems like it's a clean apartment.
Let's get CSI in here. Can we get a luminol test here?
The detectives bring their crime scene unit in, and they use something what's called luminol.
When you spray luminol on a surface, it reacts to organic substances like blood, even if the surface has been cleaned and the traces are invisible to the human eye.
The luminol test doesn't reveal anything in the living room, but in the bedroom, it's a different story.
Once they sprayed the luminol and turned on the black light, it lit up on top of and right next to the bed. There were big smears that looked like someone had tried to clean up a lot of blood.
As a result of this luminol, what looks like a peaceful, serene apartment, under the proper light is a gruesome, bloody murder scene.
Of course, right then and there, they put 2 and 2 together and realized that it's a very strong likelihood that Sierra has something to do with this.
Before detectives can track Sierra down to make an arrest, Hurricane Harvey finally comes ashore on the Texas coast.
This was a very unique and different storm.
Rather than move inland, the storm essentially stalled out over the Houston area.
You had your typical storm surge, but a massive amount of rainfall. The rain kept on coming. This went on for over 5 days of straight rain. Picture torrential downpours for 5 straight days. So while all of Houston was underwater, Baytown, in particularly, was being swallowed up. Boats were being shipped inland, houses, water up to the rooftops.
Baytown police must now drop everything to focus on the crisis at hand, leaving Sierra Sutton on the run.
They're having to deal with the recovery process and organizing all that.
Hundreds of people were trapped by those floodwaters or turned up missing.
People were looking for their loved ones. In the midst of this storm,
But when the floodwaters recede, will it be too late to bring Sierra to justice?
I was praying that they would find her because she needed to pay for what she did.
While the Houston area is still tackling the cleanup weeks after Harvey had blown through, detectives assigned to Stephen Coleman's murder get an unexpected call in mid-September.
Homicide.
Hi. It's a woman from Louisiana. She tells detectives she knows Sierra Sutton.
She obviously had a lot of friends out there in Louisiana, friends she trusted.
But was Sierra's trust mistaken?
I know who killed Stephen Coleman.
Police in Baytown, Texas, have just received information that could close the case on Stephen Coleman's homicide.
suddenly there's a phone call from
Hi.
Sarah's friend named Brittany.
This is Brittany.
Brittany confirmed that Sierra was hiding out in New Orleans, staying with a mutual friend.
She went to her best friend. She was trying to get them to help her and to hide her.
And detectives are pretty confident they know what she's hiding from.
I know who killed Stephen Coleman.
Brittany couldn't deal with the secrecy, so she called police in Baytown.
Having already pegged Sierra as Stephen's killer, detectives ask Brittany to share more details.
I want you to know how much we appreciate you calling and talking to us.
I would have called sooner, but I didn't want to believe it at first.
What she hears out of Sierra's lips disgusted her, made her sick, could not believe that another human being could do this to somebody that she supposedly loved.
The beginning of Brittany's story fits with what detectives have already heard from Stephen's friends.
She said that he'd been acting like he wanted her to move out.
She believed he was seeing somebody else. So their relationship was rocky.
And according to Brittany, Sierra said the tension between her and Stephen came to a head the day he disappeared.
She had a temper. And she did not take it lightly if someone was cheating on her.
You don't do that to me.
Look, if you don't like it, maybe you should go back home. And it got to the point to where he was like, all right, go back to New Orleans. She started to see that he was really serious. I know you know, and I'm telling you, that's what I'm doing.
But according to her friend Brittany, Sierra couldn't accept that.
The jealousy got to her so much where she just had enough. And so she decides that this is the only way out. Take him out.
I guess it came to a point like, if she can't have him, nobody can.
Next, Brittany says Sierra retrieved a gun from the closet and crept quietly back into the bedroom while Stephen was sleeping.
There was no argument, no fear for her own safety, nothing like that. Stephen was peacefully sleeping.
She shot him in the head.
Brittany said she was already shocked by the information Sierra told her. But what Sierra said next disgusted her to her core.
Sierra realizes she's too weak to carry the body.
So she reasons that there's only one way that she can get rid of the body, and that is to get a machete.
She told me she just chopped him up.
She chops off the head, cuts off the arms. She cuts off the legs.
Sierra told Brittany it took her all night to dismember Stephen.
When this went on, Sierra's own child is in the next room.
Early the next morning, she went to the store and bought supplies.
She bought duct tape, rope, and garbage bags to wrap up the body.
Thank you.
Then she quietly disposed of the evidence.
She decided to wrap each piece up, put it in the car, and drive around Baytown to different dumpsters.
They get picked up, they get brought to the landfill, and ultimately that is where the torso's found.
After cleaning up the apartment and disposing of the body, Sierra takes one final step.
How may we help you?
She did go to the police and report Stephen missing, which obviously was a tactic to try to throw people off for what she had done.
But now the detectives know everything.
Why Sierra would tell her friends this? Maybe it was something that did get on her conscience somewhat, but she just had to tell somebody.
She really thought that they was gonna help, but she really scared them.
Thank you.
Brittany's able to share other people who may possibly know about what took place. And so all these people were contacted, and all of them readily came forward.
Coupled with the evidence detectives already have, it's more than enough for an arrest warrant.
Then, with the help of local police, detectives took Sierra into custody at a relative's house in suburban New Orleans.
When detectives bring Sierra back to Texas and get her into an interrogation room, she refuses to admit that she's done anything wrong.
I told you already when I finished. No, you're not going to be honest with us and you're going to stay with that lame story. That's fine. That's up to you. You're still charged. And you don't have anything else to say to you guys.
Sierra at one point even claimed that it was strange men who came into the apartment and killed Stephen, and that they had threatened to hurt her too if she snitched.
2 people came into the house. They were disguised and they told me to go into the bathroom and shut the door. And I heard a gunshot. And they told me to leave and to make up something, basically to say that they weren't there. And basically, I did what I was told because I was scared. I didn't know what else to do. I was in fear for my life.
But no matter what Sierra says, the evidence against her is more than enough to charge her with Stephen's murder.
Not only did detectives have statements from Brittany, but they had the evidence of luminol all over the apartment.
Soon after Sierra's interrogation, DNA testing erases any hope that Stephen might still be alive.
The torso, without any doubt, belongs to Stephen.
However, the remainder of Stephen's body was never found.
We don't know what happened to the rest of Stephen. And as a family member or a friend of this guy, that's got to be a stake in the heart.
In February of 2019, after prosecutors have built an airtight case against her, Sierra pleads guilty to murder. But at her sentencing, she shows an appalling lack of remorse.
She did not care. She was like, yeah, I did it. And so what?
She's in the courtroom, no remorse. She's unfazed. What is wrong with this woman?
She got sentenced to 45 years.
The sentence is a bitter disappointment for Stephen's friends and family.
I felt like she could have got more time. She really should have got death.
That's how I felt at that time. But I've grown to understand the power of forgiveness. I have no place to want revenge.
So instead of vengeance, Stephen's friends focus on remembering the